So Orleana Price is the mother in Barbara Kingsolver's novel, The Poisonwood Bible. She is married to Nathan, who is a missionary. They have 4 daughters, and they are called into the Congo. So Orleana starts gathering everything that they think they will need for the trip, for this life they're going to lead. And she realizes that there is no way they can bring it all because of the weight restrictions on the airline. So they get clever, realizing that while there were restrictions on their luggage, there was no restriction on their personal bodies. So into their carry-ons and pockets of their coats went things like pinking shears and canned ham, a cast iron skillet, hand mirrors, and hairbrushes. In this way, Orleana got her family across the world with everything she believed they needed. Without spoiling the novel for you, Orleana gets to Africa and her husband takes on his mission with great fervor. Orleana by his side until one day her eyes open and she realizes that she has no mission in the Congo, no business there. She comes from her bed one morning and pulls a table from their meager house and puts on it spatulas and skillets and scissors, all the things she thought she needed. And then she walked out of the village with her children. She woke up, which is what happens in the account we are given this morning from Acts. I just love that there is a woman in the Bible called Tabitha. The text gives us a choice to use the Greek form of her name, which is Dorcas, and I think we're going to just stick with Tabitha. Tabitha was a stellar disciple. She was given to charity and good works. That did not keep her alive. She died, and her body was cared for by those that loved her. Some that loved her remembered that St. Peter was in the neighboring town, and so they went for him, hoping that he could do something. And Peter came to find a crowd of distraught people, and he sent them from the room, and he prayed, and then he said to Tabitha, "Get up." And like that, she did. This is a pretty big deal, that you can be dead, then alive again. Not just Jesus can be dead, then alive, but regular old people with names like Tabitha. Tabitha got up off that bed and began to live again. Lucky for her, of course. But that is not what the gospel does with her new life. It doesn't stop with her and her second chance. Her new life is immediately connected to other people. Peter shows her to be alive to the people, and the account says that then many people believed. So I want to dig a little bit into what the people did when they understood that Tabitha was alive again. What does it mean to believe? Because that word gets tossed around a whole lot in Christian circles and in the Bible. What we understand and think about around belief is not so much what was understood and thought about belief in the ancient world and influenced by Greek thought. Belief didn't have so much to do with suspension of rational thought in the ancient world, as in the case of believing in Santa Claus or the tooth fairy, believing in magic. Belief, the Greek word pistis, was in the ancient world deeply connected to a sense of knowing, an inner sense of knowing, which in Greek they called gnosis. So belief and gnosis were tied closely together. You couldn't have belief without an inner knowing. Inner knowing pushed you towards what you believed in. So this isn't knowledge at the level of scientific inquiry, as in something proven with data points. This was a knowledge that came from lived experience, from walking through life. In this ancient way, we don't choose to believe so much as we come to believe. Through our inner knowing, through our life experience, we come to believe something. We don't cross our fingers and believe, but life brings us to a place where we say, this is what I have come to. This is what I believe. So in the ancient world, one did not have this pistis apart from gnosis. Belief and knowing were bound up together like water, say. Faith was made up of parts that came together as a whole. 2 hydrogen and 1 oxygen, and you get water. Belief and knowledge, and that is the faith in the ancient world. So there were communities in the ancient world that formed around this understanding of what gnosis meant. We don't know a lot about them. We didn't until the mid-20th century. There was a lot of politics around who got to be like the real Christians in the ancient world up until the 4th century when they were trying to figure it all out. Almost 1,600 years ago, maybe a monk, someone buried documents that had to do with Christian gnosis, where people had written about this inner knowing. These were groups that identified themselves as Christians. This monk, whoever this person was, put them in a sealed pot, 52 manuscripts about gnosis, put them in a sealed pot, buried them deep at a place called Nag Hammadi in Egypt. The monk likely died without telling anyone where he buried the text. We think it might be a monk because where these were buried, not too far away, is an ancient monastery from the 2nd and 3rd centuries. Century upon century passed, and then in 1945, a farmer digging for fertilizer, so you dig up the topsoil and then you go deeper, hit a large red jar. Hoping that he had found ancient gold, he pulled it out from the ground, opened it to find 52 ancient papyrus leather-bound books. Those books made an amazing journey. The farmer's mother thought they were worthless, so she burned some for fire kindling. Others found their way into the antiquities market. Some landed in the hands of Egyptian officials. The Coptic Museum in Cairo got involved. The Jung Institute took interest. It took 30 years for scholars to secure, translate, and publish what we know today as the Nag Hammadi Library. The library contains texts of ancient and persecuted sects of Christians that were formed during the 1st and 2nd centuries. Scholars today call them the Gnostic Christians. There was wide variety in what they claimed, but generally they claimed that there was a possibility of an inner knowing of the Christ by each soul. Those papyrus volumes contain lots of stories of Jesus and sayings, many that we had never heard before, some that also appear in the Gospels, in the canon of Scripture. Over and over again, though, these writings teach that if anyone wishes to know God, one must go inside oneself. Look for God by taking yourself as a starting point. One of those texts attributed to St. Thomas names these words: "If you bring forth what is within you, what is within you will save you. If you don't bring forth what is within you, what is within you will kill you." And so, in Joppa, Tabitha comes back to life. Peter prays what is within her would be brought forth, and she is saved, and so are so many others. They experience something being brought forth in another person, death to life. Tabitha wakes up, and so do the people around her. So it comes to this: waking up getting up from whatever it is that's holding us back from the full experience of our own lives, doesn't just bring us into new life, but it brings the whole world into new life, brings other people into new life. This brings me around to mothers. As Christians on Mother's Day, Mother Mary might come to mind. Mother of God. Meister Eckhart in the 13th century, he was a German mystic, named that we are all meant to be mothers of God. This is what it means to be a mother. That with our lives, we birth something new. That we bring forth what is within us. Sometimes in life, that is a child. When Orleana Price got up and walked out of the Congo, something was born in her anew. And not only in her, but also in her children. By her own life, she walked them into new understanding, into a new way of being. Tabitha got up from her bed, and the people believed. She birthed something in other people for her own life. So how you live your life can birth another person's life. There's a beautiful story that Matthew Fox tells about whales caught in large nets off the coast of California. There were 3 of them knotted together in this net so they could not swim. The animals had gotten tired from battling the nets and were sort of dormant in the water. So the Coast Guard, or whoever does this, sent 4 divers in to cut the netting and free the animals. So they were very close up to these whales, touching them as they cut away the nets. It took hours. When the nets finally fell from the animals, the divers swam to a distance to watch. But the whales did not swim away. They sort of stayed circling in the same place. And then, after a while, one of the whales separated from the others and came towards the divers. And the whale came to each one. Some of them touched the whale. And then the whale went back to his pod. And then they swam out to sea. We are birthing one another, you see. That is what Christian community is all about. Cutting the nets from one another so we can get up, swim out to sea, walk out of the Congo. Here's the rub, though. Tabitha had a little extra edge. St. Peter. He came running in from the next village to help her get out of the bed. We are not always going to get a saint running from the next village to pray us out of our bed. So we have to do that for one another. And we also have to do it for ourselves. And this is how that can happen. We talk around here a lot about contemplative prayer, about yoga and meditation. And I'm all in with this stuff. And this is why. It's because it enables us to be St. Peter for ourselves, and this is how it works. So I'm going to take you into my own meditation, any average day, morning of the week. This is what happens. I am in my place of quiet. This is my brain. Brain is saying to me, I am sitting in meditation. This is going to make my life better. I'm going to be wiser because I am sitting in meditation. I'm going to be impressive because I am sitting in meditation. There will be less stress in my life now. My blood pressure will go down. I need to remember to take the clothes from the washer and put them in the dryer. Oh no, I'm not meditating now. I will try to do better. I didn't like that comment that woman made when we were coming into the meditation room. She is critical. She is probably not meditating very well. She is definitely bad at meditating. But look, I am worse. I can't meditate. Why do I try? My friend John said to me once, when I get silent, I learn how noisy I am. Here's what's so valuable in all of this praying, contemplating, meditating stuff we talk about. We see the noise in ourselves. There it is. That craziness, that jumble of thought, we can see it. And we can see it over there. So I just took my craziness before you and put it over there. So it's right out there in the middle. Here's the magic of it, though. It's there. And I am here. I do not have to be all of that. For one small moment, I can be bigger, wiser, stronger, kinder, a person outside of all of that. I can know myself, watch myself in that bed over there, and I can be for myself St. Peter, saying, come out of that, come out of that, come out of that. That is your St. Peter, if you will, the power that you have to pray yourself out of the net of all that is keeping you from getting up. That is why prayer is powerful. Not because we get to tell God what to do, but because it gives us insight into what we must do. And it is work to pray, and it is work to birth these selves. We are on our own mission. If we get this right, our children will walk with us. The world will walk with us. If we get this right, we bring the world along. If we get this right, we are good, good mothers to the world. Amen.